Gary Tuckman has been on the ground with a video phone and moving towards the buildings all day long. And he joins us now. And Gary, I gather that you have gotten an up-close look at least it's something approaching ground zero.
Approaching ground zero, literally ground zero, as close as you could possibly get to the damage. And I have to tell you, first of all, there are no cameras allowed at ground zero. And to be frank, I'm not sure reporters are allowed at ground zero either. However, a very kind soul, a medical professional, decided to take me along to the site, wanted me to see it, wanted me to be able to tell America and the world about what happened because she just thought it was so horrible. And I have to tell you something. This is much, much, much worse than I possibly would have imagined. And we've been here for 2 days now, just 4 blocks away. You can't tell how bad it is until you're right on the site. And let me tell you, first of all, what I saw. There are at least 10 blocks in each direction of heavy damage. It's not just the World Trade Center complex. It is hundreds of other businesses that have been heavily destroyed, moderately destroyed, or slightly destroyed. Some of the businesses that have been destroyed are Burger King, a well-known department store next to the World Trade Center called Century 21. J&R Music World is a well-known record store and computer store and electronics store that has some damage. For blocks and blocks, about a half a mile from north to south, there is heavy debris in the streets. There are cars tipped over, trucks tipped over, just lying in the streets. It reminds me of a ride at Universal Studios called Earthquake. And when you go on the Earthquake ride, everything flips over and things catch fire and there's debris and there's sand, and that's what it looked like to me when I got there.
Gary, when you look at these buildings and you talk about them being either heavily damaged or destroyed, in this 10-block area, have these buildings been crushed? Have they been burned out? What is it that either damaged or destroyed them?
Many of the buildings next to the World Trade Center complex have been crushed and burned out. The ones farther away just have some damage to them. But I've got to tell you, Aaron, one of the scariest things is there's a 20-story building right next to the World Trade Center complex, which has a huge hole in it, which many of the rescuers on the scene, and I should tell you there are at least 1,500 to 2,000 people on the scene climbing the wreckage, which is at point 75 to 80 feet tall. They are scared this building is going to collapse on top of them. These are very brave people. And I have to tell you another thing.
And they are in this building or on this building?
They are on top of the wreckage of the World Trade Center building where the two towers stood. Many of them are, this is very sad, but it's true, many of them are holding pans in their hand to collect body parts. I also have to tell you that the temporary morgue has been set up in a damaged Brooks Brothers store in a shopping complex right next to the World Trade Center complex that was damaged.
Gary, were you able to see the towers or what is left of the towers themselves?
I stood right next to the towers, Aaron, and some of the pillars are still standing up. They are in danger of imminent collapse. These people are extremely brave. There's certainly a lot of work they cannot do. And if there are survivors, and they certainly hope there are survivors still in pockets and voids in the middle of this, they can't get to them right now because there are tons and tons of wreckage that they just can't possibly remove. This is a job that will take so long. I should also tell you, Aaron, that there is a room set up to treat survivors, and I went to that room. The room was completely empty. The morgue, the Brooks Brothers, has a number of bodies and a number of body parts. It's very sad. It's pitiful, and it's much. I got to tell you, frankly, it is much worse than I possibly could have imagined.
All right, Gary, just stand down for a minute and collect your thoughts a bit, and we'll get back to you and this extraordinary reporting that you've been doing.